What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Sports and BS. It's Jamal Murphy with my guy, Dan Weinrich. What's the deal, Dan?
Lots going on. Busy times. Crazy times.
Everything okay out there in Queens?
Everything good. Everything good. God bless.
Good stuff. We're going to talk NBA playoffs, of course, and then move over and talk about some fantasy football, which snuck up on a lot of us who weren't sure if there was going to be a season, but you can never sleep on the NFL being all about the money. So the NFL season is, looks like a normal season so far. Most teams without fans, but there are a few idiot teams out there still allowing fans, but we'll get into that later. Let's talk about the NBA playoffs. And I guess you got to start with one of the most shocking things I've seen in a long time was this ridiculous Clippers collapse. They were up 3-1 against the Nuggets. Pretty much everybody thought it was in the bag for them at that point. And really, to me, the most shocking thing was the play of Kawhi Leonard in the second half of that game. I've said this on other shows. I did predict, I think, that Paul George would be a no-show or could be a no-show in that game in the fourth. But for Kawhi Leonard, the great Kawhi Leonard, whom a lot of people, including myself, said would, is the one guy, the number one guy I would take in the playoff situation, for him not to come through at all, 0 points in the second half, that was just shocking to me. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. What are your thoughts on that Clippers collapse?
Well, I have to say that I don't think, to me, the most I knew that I predicted on this pod that either LA or one of the two LA teams would lose in the first round. So even though I picked the Clippers to go to the finals, I can't say I'm shocked because I had an overall sense that this bubble environment and all this craziness would ultimately cultivate an environment of more upsets because it's like, it's sort of logical. In a regular long season, the best teams will have the best records and will most likely do the best in the playoffs. If you want to create a scenario where there's more sort of parity and teams that maybe aren't as good sort of overcoming and more of a Final Four scenario, what you can do is have it, be like something completely new. They're all living in a bubble away from their homes, no fans. Like these are like new variables. I feel like new variables favor the underdog. So it doesn't shock me that this happened. And I also, Denver is great. I've been, touting them since.
Did you have them when it was 3-1? Did you feel this way?
Well, I mean, I wasn't. Who picks anyone when you're down 3-1? But I did have them as one of my teams that I felt could come out.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. Yeah, I don't think it was shocking that Denver.
But I will say this. Wait, hold on. Let me finish though. Well, what was shocking? The fact that the Clippers got blown out in Game 7. That was shocking. Shocking. Like, I don't know what happened. Now, my instinct is I want to blame it on, like, team chemistry and be like, it was just so much poison. But I still don't understand why, like, Kawhi couldn't just rise up and have a great individual performance even as they're down 20. You know what I mean? Just go out and take over and just score every time.
Well, I think Kawhi, and he's, I'm not trying to make an excuse for him because he had the same condition last year, but he is not 100%. And obviously because all during the regular season he takes games off because of his knee,
Sure.
And you could tell in the beginning of that game, I'm watching, I'm like, it just seemed like he was like almost tiptoeing around. But then I'm like, well, maybe he always runs like this now, and I'm just like noticing this now. But so I didn't really say anything. But there's no question he's limited physically, and it happened last year in the playoffs too. When he got to the Eastern Conference Finals, then that you started seeing him limp. I guess the games. I guess at least in the bubble now, it's back to back. Every other day. Yeah. So I guess it was just going to happen where the injury is going to catch up to him, but. Still, even when he was injured last year, he still came up. He didn't have any 0 point second half games. So,
Yeah.
but I think it showed how weak the Clippers were. Obviously, it shows how weak the Clippers were to get blown out like that. And I think it's when they saw that Kawhi wasn't capable of just carrying them themselves, they basically the rest of them just gave up.
And I mean, there is you have to mention the storyline here, because it's really it's like something that Dickens wrote or something. I mean, it's like a perfectly told story. They immaturely and unprofessionally ridiculed Dame Lillard.
Well, not they, just a couple of them.
Two of their leaders.
So-called leaders, obviously.
So-called leaders. And I feel like there were more people, it was mostly Beverly and Paul George, and then I feel like there were a couple other players sort of in the periphery and maybe giggling along. I'm not sure. But, I found it so distasteful, what they, for them to, make fun of and try to, ridicule Dame before he was even eliminated.
Who's your boy? That's your boy, by the way.
Well, I mean.
So you took it extra personal. That's all I'm saying.
No, that's not really true. I don't think so. I mean, I almost his status for me has been elevated as a result of that. I wasn't following Dame leading up to that, rooting for him. I was obviously aware of what a great player he was, but it was whatever. But after that happened, I started paying attention. He started doing magic. But the point is, it's not so much just the straight karma of it. It's sort of more, I think, demonstrates the immaturity and the lack of focus of critical members of this team. That's not champion. Champions you don't catch champions rolling around laughing at some team that shouldn't even be on their level, right? They shouldn't even be worried about. And they got, man, did McCollum and Lillard roast them last night or 2 nights ago, whenever it happened. Did you see on Twitter?
Yeah, no, I saw it,
But can we start talking about I feel like there are players like Westbrook and Harden are reviled for their lack of playoff productivity. I mean, when are we going to start talking about playoff P being playoff poison?
What do you mean? Everybody's talking about that. He's not even on. I don't even think he's on the other guys you mentioned. Nobody's going to put him even on their level. They've fit.
Do you remember
anymore?
You do remember last?
I don't even know where playoff P came from. Honestly,
I was
always like, what?
I know. I remember where he came. He said it once in a presser after they won a game. Y'all don't know about playoff P. He gave himself the nickname.
Oh my God,
he's that kind of guy. And I read this story about him having a dust up with
Harold.
With Harrell, Harrell, Montrezl Harrell.
Yeah, I saw that.
And and I remember there was a thing when he was in Indiana about maybe with his girl and another player or something like that. And I'm just starting to wonder, is Paul George an asshole?
He might be. And he's definitely he's not a leader. He's not a leader, obviously. But I remember I watched, there was a game, I forget, I don't know if it was a playoff game. There was a game in the bubble, and Kawhi had a great game, and the Clippers had won, and they interviewed Paul George at the end of the game. And I was just struck by the interview where he basically, he just showed such reverence to Kawhi and was like, this is Kawhi's team. He's our leader. And it was just weird to me at the time. I'm like, dude, I would expect him to be like, we're the leaders, or you're a supposed superstar also, or a star at least. And it was so weird that he just he just totally deferred to Kawhi. And now when you look at it, it makes sense now, because he is not willing, he wanted Kawhi to be that leader so he could just be that, he could fill in where he had to.
But last year he was in the MVP discussion, and
he had a great first half of the season. And
I really believe that the NBA MVP discussion is a hype train, and it's groupthink, and people just get, and I think it's been this way for years. I remember 10 years ago.
He had great numbers.
But there are always guys with great numbers. That's the problem.
But that's what wins you the MVP.
You could pick 10 or 15 guys any year and make an argument. And so what happens is, I feel 10 guys make an argument.
3 to 5.
Argument.
Right.
Right. And that's what happens. And I feel like they're like the writers, they just get into this group think like, this guy, he's having the best season. This isn't just recent. This isn't just about Harden recently. I remember when Nash won the MVP over Iverson, when Iverson led the league in assists. And obviously Iverson always scored more than Nash. And I felt like it was like a Nash hype train. And I feel like
most people say Nash stole either Kobe's or Shaq's MVPs.
And actually, and even more recently than that, he stole Jacques Vaughn's job opportunity.
Stop it.
I'm really surprised that you don't. I feel like you must just I like Steve Nash too, so you just want to like it.
No. I just think it's a bad example of what people are.
Why?
When people were talking about white privilege, white privilege is like a thing, like in every industry. It's like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So there's part white privilege, but I don't see it as that's the job that you point to. Like, this is the example. Like, it's not the example because this dude actually has credentials.
But
like,
you haven't
MVP twice.
But
as a point guard, and other black point guards have had that opportunity too.
I mean but okay. Like I said to you, I think when we originally discussed this, if it's not white privilege, it's celebrity privilege.
But in your own field.
But it's not an apples to apples comparison of field. Yes, playing basketball and coaching basketball are not the same thing. Okay?
Right, but we've always done that. We've always allowed guys who are great to have the opportunity to coach, and some of them turn out to be good, some of them don't.
First of all, Jacques Vaughn was a great basketball player too. Just because he didn't have the gifts of,
he was a great college basketball player. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, all-time great.
Well, he was great. It's not
okay. He was but the point is, the guy was an assistant for 10 years.
He's had head coaching jobs before.
But why doesn't he get this one after he just?
Because they obviously
did a great job.
I think he did a good enough job with Brooklyn, and I tweeted this after the season, that he deserves a job. Now, does he deserve the Nets job? I can't say that, because when they fired Atkinson, obviously with some sort of plan to bring someone else in, and he was the interim. Now, he did so well as the interim. I agree with you. He proved himself that he deserves another job. But but it's not like he's never had a job. And this was brought to my attention. I almost forgot about it too. That he coached in Orlando for 2 or 3 years. He wasn't given any talent, so his record isn't good. But he did have a chance.
You could miss that.
Right. I forgot about that too. When I was tweeting that he deserves a job.
Here's my opinion about it, okay? And I work in a field where I often am, staffing up teams for projects, and this is something that I've had to really come to grips with this year as well. And that's, if there's a problem of diversity within the field, like, you can do something about it or not. And it's like, right now, there's like the fewest number of black coaches in the NBA as there have been, since like the 80s or something. It's like, what, 5? It's really low.
Well, there are unfilled spots too. So I mean, there were 8 going into the year.
Yeah, but
which is still low.
Right, and a few of them lost their job.
Right, so no one's arguing that they don't have an issue with black coaches.
My point is that, like,
but there are going to be white coaches.
Here's an opportunity where you don't have to go like, oh, what minority candidate should we hire? You have someone right in front of you who has earned a shot, and you're going to say no to the minority candidate who has proven themselves but isn't a splashy name, and instead hire a white man who has never done this job before. That, to me, it's like, it's a tone-deaf move at this time, and it disappoints me that so many people have, like, just gotten behind it.
Yeah, I just think it's the wrong. I just feel like
that job should have gone to a person of color, without, like, generally speaking. But you actually have a person of color who was your interim and doing doing as good a job as you could ask, beyond expectation, and you are still not, like, what Is there
Well, the Nets hired Jason Kidd not too far back.
Anything he possibly could have done? If he had won the if the Nets were still alive right now,
maybe then.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he knew that. You know, I mean, he didn't expect to be the Nets coach when he took over as an interim. You know what I'm saying? Like it, and I get. I don't even think 2020 is an issue. Like we've needed like these black coaches. It doesn't matter when. You know, now is the time. George Floyd. It doesn't matter. Like for years and years and years, there should be more black coaches in the NBA. I get that, but there are also always going to be white coaches. Also, I just feel like this is a bad. It's a bad. This example is a poor one to make because it's so easy to say, oh well, you know, black coaches. We know black coaches have done this same thing. Black players who won MVPs. Magic Johnson got to coach the Lakers right away. Jason Kidd came right out of playing.
They don't have a history of success. They have a history of not. Generally speaking, they don't do well.
Who coaches? Steve Kerr is an example of doing well, actually.
Yeah, but Steve Kerr worked in the front office for years.
Yeah, but Kerr wasn't. But Kerr also wasn't the player that Nash was, and wasn't the point. You know, a two-time MVP point guard. I'm sorry. That does matter.
Don't get me wrong.
You don't think that matters?
Cool that
you don't think it matters to know the game and have been very good at it?
Well, sure, but I'm not saying that Steve Nash doesn't like. It's not cool that he's going to be a coach, and I'm not saying that he didn't deserve a chance. I get it. He's too famous to be in a.
But it's also it's not the NFL situation where these guys like a Joe Judge who never played the game and wasn't great at it like Vrabel was, let's say, you know, as a linebacker or whatever. But like a Judge or the guy in Arizona who never played the game and they were a special teams coach for 1 year. Or in the Arizona guy case, he had one or two bad years as a college coach, and then gets, you know, then all of a sudden gets an NFL position. I think those are real examples.
I mean, just because those things are worse, that doesn't mean that this is good. I mean, I'm not, you know, I'm just saying
I'm
not in front of Barkley.
I'm just saying examples to pick it on.
I'm not making examples because I have an agenda or anything. I'm just saying in regards to Steve Nash being hired as the Nets head coach, I was very disappointed not because I think Steve Nash is anything other than, he's
what about the Knicks? What about the Knicks and Thibodeau? What about Thibodeau?
What about Thibodeau?
Was that
no,
just as
Thibodeau
bad?
is a proven. He's a coach. I only know Tom Thibodeau as a head coach. Steve Nash has never coached, as far as I know, any professional sport for even a game.
So that's it with Nash, just because he hasn't coached.
That's not it. The bigger piece is Jacques Vaughn. You have an interim who has excelled. So and is a person of color. I feel that you need to reward that. And it's disappointing to me. Yeah, there will always be white coaches, but it's disappointing to me when there's an opportunity for a black coach to get a job and there's an obvious candidate and they get passed over. Let someone else hire Steve Nash. The Nets should have hired Jacques Vaughn. He did enough in the bubble to prove that he deserved that chance. When was the last time that they had a person of color as their head coach?
Probably Jason Kidd.
And other than that, can you ever think of an instance? I can't. So, you know, it disappoints me because there was an opportunity there. If Nash just gets hired for any old team, I'm not necessarily up in arms. But like, if you put their resumes up against each other, obviously Steve Nash was a better basketball player than Jacques Vaughn. But Jacques Vaughn also played on the highest level. He has the same experience in that way. And he's also been an assistant coach for 10 years. And he also has been with this organization. And he also led them to overachievement in the bubble. So,
which was 8 games. You know, let's not go crazy.
You know,
we've had this argument before.
Yeah.
But all right. So back to the NBA playoffs. You know, I mean, let me ask you this before we get off the Clippers and Kawhi. Does this change how you view Kawhi at all, or how people should view him?
Yes, it changes how I view Kawhi immensely. I mean, it doesn't take away from what he's been. I still give him credit for everything he's done. I saw you said something about his legacy. His legacy is great. I mean, it's affected the trajectory of his legacy. I thought he was going up, and he's not going up anymore, because the whole thing about Kawhi was like, he's like the opposite of say, Harden. Harden, you watch the game, and he regular season, and he's the leading scorer every night. Like, it's obvious what he's doing. Kawhi, he plays less. It's less about scoring. It's more about his clutch gene, his winning gene, his like overall like, basketball acuity. And with him, the whole thing is always like he turns it up in the playoffs, right? This season, like, he didn't play a lot, and his numbers were good, but not in no way. I mean, his numbers are never really gaudy. So if you then take away the killer gene, the clutch gene, what are you left with? You now all of a sudden you've got like a guy like his drop, it's precipitous. He goes from being, I went from viewing him going into this playoffs as possibly, if not the best player in the NBA, undoubtedly in the top 3 or 4 without question, to now I'm like, like he's maybe towards he's definitely on the outside of the top 5, and he's lower on the top 10. And they got to wonder, is he even in the top 10? Because the top, the all NBA teams came out, and I forgot, I need to congratulate you. Your guy, Jason Tatum, made 3rd team all NBA. Only 22 years old.
Should have probably made 2nd team, because Siakam was ridiculous as a 2nd team.
I'm of course trolling you for our ongoing debate. That there are worse travesties, though. The fact that Donovan Mitchell is not in one of those teams.
Well, your boy Westbrook took his spot. That's ridiculous that he's the 3rd team.
That's ridiculous.
And also, not just Donovan.
Booker.
No, not. I'm talking about from Washington.
Beal?
Yeah, he averaged 30 points a game.
Yeah, Beal's great. Booker? Do not tell me that Booker is not in the top 15. Do not try to tell me that.
Well, I don't, just because talent-wise he may be in the top 15.
Dynamic scorer.
Yeah, but he didn't have the season that some of the other dudes had.
What about in the bubble?
Well, it's 8 games.
Yeah, but those 8 games.
He did make. I think he was bubble MVP. They did have a whole different thing for.
I know. I mean, I'm just saying. No, look. I'm just telling you. Like, if we're sitting there if we're at the gym and we're picking teams, Devin Booker is not sticking around past pick 15. I promise you. Probably. I mean, especially
I'll take him over Westbrook.
I would. Yeah, I probably would too. I don't think Westbrook
and Pascal. I don't know how Pascal Siakam, and I like Pascal Siakam, and I'm not even talking about how he came up a little small in the playoffs. Fine. Even the regular season, he had a great first half. Did these guys just vote in the first half of the season?
It's groupthink.
And him, it doesn't make that was a weird one to me.
I agree with you. I don't think he should have been there.
And Luka made 1st team over Dame. You find that?
I don't agree with that, but I don't think that
he had better stats probably.
But Luka's not the problem on that 1st team.
Who is?
I think. I don't think that AD should be in the 1st team based on this year's stats.
But his team, I mean, they had one of the best records and the 2nd best record.
Yeah, and LeBron is in the 1st team, and AD should be in 2nd team. I'll tell you, I did mine actually. I'll tell you what I think, because I was looking at it and I was like, I disagree so much. I would put my 1st team would be Lillard, Harden, Luka, LeBron, and Giannis.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, I do. It is sort of 3 guards, but I mean, come on, like that's what the game is today, right?
Well, they do, and that's the thing. They do have a center position. Each team has to have a center.
Yeah,
so that's where they put.
Well, if I had to, I would put Kawhi over Luka.
But he doesn't play in the regular season like that. And that's another question.
I know.
I had a conversation with someone who's very anti Kawhi. He thinks he's always been overrated. But he mentioned, like having Kawhi, the fact that Kawhi doesn't play, enough in the regular season, does that in itself cause chemistry issues that you pay for in the playoffs?
Yeah, definitely. So then I'll give you. So all right. So here are my top 3 teams. All right. First team: Damian Lillard, James Harden, Luka, LeBron, and Giannis. Team 2: Donovan Mitchell.
Oh wow, second team.
Yeah,
not playoffs included now. Remember?
No, second team: Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, Kawhi, AD, and Jokic.
That's fair.
And then team 3 is I have Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, Booker.
So you stuck Russell on there too.
Well, now you just convinced me though. I'd probably put I'm all right putting Beal on there over him, like for sure. Bradley Beal, I think, is a better player than Russell Westbrook right now. I mean, Russell Westbrook is still amazing and dynamic, but he doesn't too often. He doesn't have the ability to channel that energy towards victory.
Right.
It's like undeniable at this point.
Right.
You can't just keep calling him great when his teams keep losing.
Right.
But
and even in the regular season, the Rockets, they were a 4 seed, 4 seed, I think. That's not enough to warrant 2 guys just, off reputation in the top 3 teams. I got Harden. If Russell Westbrook was really at that level, they would have been like a 1-2 seed.
But I have to wonder, I do think it is really strange that people find this Denver upset more shocking than the Heat over the Bucks.
No, I mean, well, maybe the Heat in the amount of games. Remember, I told you at the time when those 4 Eastern on this podcast. I said any one of these 4 could come out. Right?
But you didn't. But you didn't really think that they were going to beat the Bucks. I
had the Bucks in 7, so I thought the Bucks would sneak by them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I thought that really shocked.
Like, it's not like I had the Bucks in 5 or 6.
Well, I think that the Bucks losing in 5 is more shocking than the Clippers losing in 7, even giving up a 3-1 lead.
Oh no, the 3-1 lead is just
to lose in 5 as the 1 seed. Okay, the Heat are great. Okay,
and it's a different
They're
team.
Good enough to beat you.
The Heat aren't even the same team they were in the regular. This is like 4 months later. Bam is better. He is better. They don't play with a big man anymore. You know what I'm saying? So they've changed their style.
So to me, all that tells you that it's okay that they lost. It's okay that the Heat won. The Heat are really good. To lose in 5, that means you're not even on their level.
Giannis didn't even play the last 2 games, or at least a game and a half.
True.
But they were down 3-0.
Now that brings me to another point. I got to tell you, my friend. I just Giannis is a freak, and of course you got to still put him in your first team. Look at the numbers he puts up.
Before you go where you're going, just tell me. Just remember who his
MVP.
But remember who his teammates are.
Yeah, I know that.
Name them. Name his teammates. The other starting 5. The rest of the starting 5. Just name them.
All right, let's see. Chris Middleton.
Chris Middleton, who's a very good player. He was not on first, second, or third team, by the way.
He might.
So how good is he?
He is one of the most underrated players.
Right, but not
most people have no idea who he is, and he's actually very good.
Would you have put him?
He's a borderline all-star.
Well, I'll give it. He's an all-star. He's just not an all-NBA player.
Right.
But go ahead. Okay, who else?
All right. What's his name?
Are you thinking point guard?
I'm thinking of the tough point guard. I think, did he go to Kentucky?
Yeah, is he that tough?
Well, he's scrappy, you know.
Well, he's Diesel.
He's tough because he's always driving.
Yeah. True. Eric Bledsoe.
Eric Bledsoe.
All right. Who else after that?
Brook Lopez.
Brook Lopez. So you really only need one more?
Brook Lopez is good.
Brook Lopez, yeah. Brook Lopez is solid.
Yeah.
He's not on regular teams. He'd be off the bench probably, but
give me a hint. What is the position of
forward, 2 guard? Yeah.
Isn't Middleton the small forward?
Yeah. So who's the 2?
It's not Malcolm Brogdon. He's on the Bulls now.
Well,
right?
they wish they
or
had
the
him.
Pacers.
They were better when they had him for sure in the playoffs.
Can you give me a hint?
You still won't get. I'll give you. His name starts with a W.
No, tell me like where he went to college or where he played.
He went to the same college as Jimmy Butler.
That's Marquette.
Yes. And he was always slept on, similar to Jimmy Butler, but he's not as good, obviously.
Does he have dreads?
No, that's Crowder.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But he went to Marquette too.
I know. But it's not Dwayne Wade.
No, it's not Dwayne Wade. He wishes Giannis wishes it was Dwayne Wade. Yes.
Who is it?
Wesley Matthews.
Oh, Wesley Matthews. I know who that is.
All right.
He used to be on the Mavs.
But is he a starter on a real playoff team? And is Bledsoe even a starter on a real playoff team? It was Brooke. Is Brooke even? So I know where you're going. Yeah.
No, Brooke.
I look at it the other way. It's amazing, even in the regular season, what Giannis was able to do with that team around him. He couldn't do it in the playoffs because you're allowed to create a wall and stop him. That means like 3-4 guys to stop him, which you couldn't do if he had Tatum on his team or like Jaylen Brown. He doesn't have any help, so you can easily just focus on him.
Why do you? I mean, I'm not trying to be argumentative, so I make excuses. It's probably harsher than I mean, but like, why do you sort of explain it away for Giannis, but with Harden, you're just like, oh,
Harden has Westbrook. He had Chris Paul.
But you just finished telling me how Westbrook isn't that good.
Now
and I agree with you.
Now, but also Harden's 31, and we've been through this.
Not enough.
And also, but it's more than Giannis had. He does not have one player. So
honestly,
even Middleton's better than
Westbrook. I think Middleton is as helpful to you as a superstar as Westbrook. He's probably more helpful.
What about Chris Paul?
If you're a super,
what about Chris Paul?
But with Chris Paul, they almost went to the finals. They lost to a dynasty.
And why didn't they get there?
Because they lost to a dynastic team.
But did Harden show up big?
Well, I admit he's never really.
And he's 31. Giannis is 24, 20. If Giannis has 7 more years where he doesn't get it done in the playoffs, then yes, the narrative will change on Giannis too.
Yeah. I mean, I just look at that Rockets team, and I don't even understand how they were even in the playoffs. After Westbrook, it falls off a cliff.
It's solid role players who could shoot the 3.
I mean, I'll admit that.
That's all that Milwaukee had. Milwaukee had solid role players who could shoot the 3 off of Giannis.
The 2 guards on the Bucks, they should be coming off the bench of a really good team. The rest of the Middleton and Brook Lopez, they're reasonable starters.
I'll give you Middleton.
Well, Brook, he's a center. He's a real center.
He was just came from the Lakers. He didn't start. Did he start for the Lakers?
Yeah, all right, maybe not. Brook.
He might have started for them because they were.
He's debatable. It depends on the rest of the team. But in the same regard with the Rockets, Westbrook is the only guy who should be starting on a really good team. Everyone else is a bench player. I really like Gordon.
PJ Tucker would start at the 4.
really like Tucker and I really like Gordon, but they're not starters on a really good team.
But they're better
they're like 6th, 7th man on a really good team.
Right, which is still more than Milwaukee.
I'm just saying, after Westbrook, it falls off a cliff, and I'm really not sure how helpful it is to have Westbrook on your team. He's just like a Tasmanian devil, just like buzzing all over the place.
He was injured. He was injured in the bubble, so you got to give him some sort of flack. I don't think we saw the best of him, but even the best of him is not a true winning type of player. But that's who Harden wanted, right? He got rid of his winning player in Chris Paul.
I don't get that. I definitely think they were better.
They were. They, like you said, they came within a game.
But you really think Harden orchestrated all that? Is that how it went down?
I mean, that's what all the rumors say.
I can't understand why you would want. I mean, it must have been a personality.
It is. Yeah, it was totally personality.
Chris Paul's just a dick.
Yeah, Chris Paul's a dick, and he doesn't look up to Harden.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He's like this. He probably looks at Harden.
No way Westbrook looks up to him.
Well, but they're friends. Like those two actually grew up together. Right. And I did see, and that was in the bubble, there was a play once where Harden made a lazy turnover and Westbrook gets in not in his face, but Westbrook says something to him, and Harden's like, "What?" And then Westbrook, mimics the lazy pass, and he's like, you just do this bullshit pass.
Oh yeah,
I was impressed by that. At least this dude, Westbrook wasn't looking up to Harden and afraid of him. He was telling him what he thought.
Let me ask you this: do you see a different Harden on the court? Because I do. Like you don't like that. All that, like him not trying on defense, or he's a ball hog, or like it's just not true. Like he's truly a great player, all around great player. Maybe he's not your MVP, but I mean he's a Hall of Fame player. Like these are.
Just numbers wise, he's Hall of Fame player.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, like we're witnessing a Hall of Fame player, and I just feel like he's constantly derided.
Well, because he's not the same Hall of Fame. He's not the same Hall of Fame player. There was a stat that basically showed the difference between him in first through third quarters in big games or playoffs. I guess it was just the playoffs, but his first through third quarter stats were so much better than his fourth quarter stats. And then his game 7 stats are terrible. So it's like you take fourth quarters and game 7s, and his stats just are totally different from what they are normally. So that's a problem. He's a regular season guy, if there ever was one. And he also talked shit. Like he was also like during the regular season, like, this is our year. We're going to get it done. I know what we have to do. He dissed Giannis, on a couple occasions. Like, come on, bro. You got to, if you're going to do all that, like, what are we doing out here? And it's really sad. Really, it's sad to the point where he could drop 50 points a game next year, and people are going to be like, it's going to be like, so? You know what I'm saying? Like they're not going to take it serious. He might not even get first team all NBA next year if he does the exact same thing, because people are going to hold this against him. Okay, so let's say Nuggets, Lakers. What do you think? Give me some predictions. It hasn't started yet.
I think it'll be a really good series.
What's your prediction? How many games? Who wins?
If it goes 7, I like the Nuggets. I think that.
So you have it a 7 game?
No, I think I would have to go with my Lake show here, as you see. I think I'll take them in 6. They need to pound them, because if it goes down to the wire, the Lakers don't. I never like. I don't know. I just don't like LeBron having to win. I think he's best when he dominates, not when he has to take a game-winning shot. If it's close down the stretch, they've got a shooter. Who is the Lakers shooter? Caruso?
No, Kuzma.
Danny Evans?
Kuzma
Danny Green?
Kuzma, Pope, Green. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think the Lakers will pull it out, though. The Nuggets are the only team to ever come back from down 3-1 twice in one playoffs, and they've only been thanks to 2 out of 3 of their series.
Thanks to Paul George.
Or two series in a row.
Thanks to Paul George. Thanks to the Clippers.
Listen,
because that was just terrible.
The Clippers. I
just gotta go back. That was a terrible performance.
Yeah, but
I give Denver some of the credit, some of it, but
the Nuggets had to make them look bad. The Nuggets,
but it was such a collapse. And why do you get down if the Clippers are that shaky anyway? How do you get down 3-1? And how do you get down 3-1 to Utah like that?
Well, anywho,
if they get down 3-1 to the Lakers are much more focused.
I got the Lakers
professional.
In 6. What about you?
I got the Lakers in 6 because they got someone who can guard Jokic and keep him maybe under his averages, which is AD. AD can actually guard him. The Clippers had nobody. That's another thing. Clippers had nobody to guard Jokic at all. Yeah. They were actually putting Paul George on him at times. And he was getting Zubac in foul trouble within the first couple minutes of every game. So the Clippers had nothing for him. Harrell was too small. He's 6'7". So AD.
If you can get two of the top 5 or 6 players in the world on your team, it's going to be hard to beat you, and that's what the Lakers have.
In the East, Boston Heat already up 1-0.
Yeah.
This is pretty. I had Boston in 7. Still, I'm gonna stick to that. But it's really. I think it's going 7, and it's really a 50-50 series to me.
I don't know. I think Boston could rip off like 2 or 3 in a row, get it done in 6, because I think that Boston is almost like a sleeping giant, like an animal that doesn't know isn't aware of its own strength. Because I feel like once they wake up and start shooting on all cylinders, but
you're playing one of the best defensive teams.
Yeah, I know, but I just feel like they have too many weapons with Tatum, Kemba.
Kemba's been neutralized in the last 2 games. The last 2 games against Toronto, he was terrible, and then the first game he was a little better, but he shot like 6 of 20.
I don't see it. Miami's great. It's great what they've done, but just I've been wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but I look at the Celtics roster. It's like, okay, that's a roster that can take you to a finals. I look at the Heat roster and I'm like, no, they're missing. That's not enough. That is not enough.
The Heat roster reminds a lot of people of Detroit.
No way.
I'm telling you,
that is absurd.
A lot of people have said it, and I agree.
Well, it reminds you, but they're not nearly as good. The individual parts are not. Talk
Billups.
Yeah, who? Yeah.
So Jimmy Butler is not on the level. Jimmy Butler's not on the level of a Billups.
Butler wouldn't be Billups. Butler would be.
No, I'm saying. But okay. Yeah. So Dragic averaging 20.
Jimmy Butler is not on the level. Is not on the level of
who?
Mr. Big Shot.
I don't know about that.
Chauncey Billups is an all-time playoff performer. He beat Kobe.
Well, he had help because they had a nice defensive-minded team with a great coach.
No, but listen, Ben Wallace was the Defensive Player of the Year.
Bam is on that level.
He doesn't. Yeah, it's hard to talk. It's hard to deny him after that block in the last game of Tatum.
And I actually thought Bam would be more dominant because he's not. Because Boston doesn't have size.
They definitely don't have. Who's their Rashid?
Who's there, Rashid? Your boy Crowder.
Yeah, okay. That's not.
He's been playing over his head. He's playing over his head.
But he's not Rasheed Wallace, and you know that.
Well, even Rashid back then was playing like he was off the bench,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see this. Although Tyler Hero's only 20? Wow.
And he's off the bench, people sleep on Dragic. He's always been very, very good. He's not a superstar. But he's been an all-star multiple times. He's like, if you want to give Middleton credit, you got to give Dragic credit.
Guns teams, but he's old. He's like in his late 30s, isn't he?
Not that old. He looks old, but he's not that old.
He's been around,
right? But he's in his 30s.
Dragic is a really good.
He's not. But regardless, he's not playing old. You see how he's playing now? Like you can pencil him in for like 20. At least 20. And all the dirty work every game.
All right, well, I still got Boston, LA, and I think LA might sweep.
No, I disagree with that. I think the East the Eastern matchup in the finals, no matter who it is, will be tougher than the Nugget matchup.
No.
So I think
I disagree.
I think
the Nuggets.
The finals.
You don't think the Nuggets would win the East? I think the Nuggets would win the East easily.
I don't think so.
Easily.
You're watching the East. Like the East is like. It's back to its grime.
They only look good because they're playing it themselves.
That's what you say until the finals, and they're like, "Oh my God, we never knew they were that good."
The only reason they won last year, let's be fair, is because literally the wheels fell off.
Right, but there's also no team like Golden State was last year before pre-injury, like where everybody knew Golden State was going to win it all. I don't think the Lakers are on that level.
Except maybe the Lakers, because as soon as we knew it was going to be LeBron and AD, it was like, okay.
Yeah, but then you see but I don't think so, because at least Golden State had 3 of those dudes.
If either Miami
and Draymond.
This is why Miami or Boston will be in big, big trouble. Because
in fact, I think Miami is the worst matchup for the Lakers because they're just too defensive-minded.
Oh my God!
I'm telling you,
they'll sweep them for sure.
Oh my God! Oh, let's put money. Well, we don't know who's going to be in it, so it's hard.
Here's the thing:
I guarantee you, the Lakers would not sweep the Heat. I promise you that.
It's hard to beat a team when their second best player is better than everybody else on your team.
No, but I'm saying is that it's classic. Like people look at it's like a classic mistake. Like people look at the Heat roster and you're like, oh yeah, name the names on the back of the jerseys, but they're all better than you think they are.
Yep.
And as a whole, they're a beast. Like, yeah, you think I slept on them too. I didn't think you said it yourself. You couldn't believe they beat Milwaukee in 5 games. That shows you they're better than we think they are. Even me, I knew they were good, but I still thought the Bucks would win in 7. I didn't think they could beat in 5.
I ultimately that also exposed the Bucks to me. But you have to give them credit. You can't win in 5 and not. I mean, I have to give them credit. I've watched them play, but I just can't see them fucking with the Lakers. I mean, maybe if the Nuggets somehow mess around and beat the Lakers, then I feel like that's a better matchup for Miami. But like LeBron and AD are just going to set the tone. Like
But that's the type of team. Like
those guys
they can't,
but
they won't be able to, like, they're not going to get their averages and shit against the Heat because these motherfuckers are junkyard dogs. Play physical all over them. You got multiple. You throw waves at them. Like, this is how they win.
You know, it's funny because everybody, obviously, Giannis is the freak. That's his nickname. But in reality, it's the Lakers who have the two original freaks of this generation. LeBron and AD are like two unguardable offensive.
Well, I mean, LeBron, of course, but I mean, AD. But he's not like he hasn't had a better career trajectory than Giannis.
Who, AD?
Yeah, he doesn't have an MVP.
Yeah, I know. I mean? Yeah, but I
mean, he's great. He's still a top 5, top 7 guy.
It's interesting. If I had to just take one guy, well, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, Pelicans were not as good. I can't really give you the exact numbers, but in my brain, Anthony Davis is a better player than Giannis if I have to choose. But I recognize that the numbers and the results don't necessarily back up that argument. It's just how I feel sort of instinctually.
So we got to wait for the final. I mean, I'm rooting for Boston.
But he's definitely better than Bam, even though I love Bam. Bam's great.
Yeah, he's better than Bam. He's better than Bam.
I just think that...
But Bam would make life tougher for him than you think. You know what I'm saying?
You might think that I'm, the convention. This is conventional thought, and maybe it's right, and maybe it's not.
The Miami thing, yes.
In my opinion, no. I was going to sort of say something bigger than that, but in my opinion, the Lakers only need to get past their biggest hurdle left is Denver.
I disagree. I think both Miami both Miami and Boston are better than Denver by like a considerable amount.
I still think that, and I don't think that Denver is better than them by a considerable amount. I just think Denver's better.
I disagree.
I would rank the 4 remaining teams. I would go Lakers, Denver, Boston, Miami.
And I would go, obviously I disagree. I go Lakers slightly, and then Boston and Miami is the same, and then Denver.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. But it's interesting the way people think, because like on one side you want to give one team credit for when, like you're giving Miami credit for being the Bucks, but for Denver you're only saying that it's the Clippers collapse.
Not only, but I mean, that's what I saw. I can just go off what I saw.
This is the way it's getting spun.
Well, no, I also said
I could easily say
I said that Giannis had no help.
But I could easily go the other way, right? You could easily go the other way and say the Nuggets, man, that's crazy the way they came back from 3-1 against a stacked Clippers team.
And but also Miami wasn't.
And then the other side,
Miami wasn't down 3-1.
But I can say, man, that doesn't. The Bucks were paper. They were paper. The paper champions. There was nothing. They were easy to beat, easy target. You
said yourself you didn't see the Clippers. You didn't see the Clippers basically give up in Game 7. You didn't get that.
That was crazy. I don't know what happened.
Let's talk fantasy football, man. We got fantasy football. We got a game tonight. Who's it? Cleveland, Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Man. Let's talk some fantasy. And while we're on, I just mentioned Cleveland. And I messed up badly in the draft twice by giving, and I think I did, even after one game. I think I I messed up by taking Odell a couple times. Oh, and one draft in particular, I remember I passed on Thielen to take Odell. Odell Beckham Jr. And I really think that's gonna, even though I had Odell Beckham on the team I won in your, I won your league college television two straight years. You know that, right?
No, I didn't realize that.
That's why I'm the dynasty.
Yeah, I didn't get any Odell Beckham, but I was looking at him. I didn't avoid him.
I mean, his stock had dropped. That's why I got him twice.
I mean, you can't be excited about anybody on the Browns right now.
And who is it? His fault or is it Baker Mayfield's fault?
I mean, it's probably the Ravens' fault.
You think they played great game?
It is just one game. So
he did have 10 targets, but only two catches for like 30 yards, something like that.
I don't think you shouldn't overreact to one game, especially against the.
But it's overreacting to one game after a season where he basically did that all season. Like he didn't do shit all last season.
Yeah, actually,
because I had him on the team.
He wasn't Odell. I also did, but he had 1,000 yards.
All right, let me go check these numbers from last year.
He had 1,000 yards.
But it's about people drafted him first, second round. That's the issue. So you got to be top what?
Nobody drafted him. Oh, last year.
Last season. Yeah. This year he was like a third, fourth round.
Yeah. Well, the Browns aren't good, but you know who is good? Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
I got him. I'm mad at myself that I didn't go for him in every. See, this is what always happens. Every year I start doing those mock drafts, and like I have these players that I'm targeting. And when I first started doing the mock drafts, I was targeting Cam, Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers every time because they were like in the hundreds. Like you get them in the 11th, 12th, 13th round. Such a value. So Tom Brady ended up moving up a little bit. And what I ended up doing is, as you like do mock drafts for like a week, you sort of you go through personal trends, and you start moving away. You're not drafting the same people a week later. So I was getting him every time before. I did manage to take him in one of my 5 leagues. In 2, I got Lamar with my 3rd pick. I went Kelsey Lamar in 2 of my leagues.
Third pick in like third round pick?
3rd round.
That's a great. I had to jump, I think, 2nd round to get Lamar.
I went running back, Kelsey Lamar in 2 of my 5 leagues. And then in 1 league, I caught Rodgers. And then in 2 of the leagues, I didn't draft anyone until the very end. So I ended up with Stafford and Brady. I got Brady super late in your league.
Yeah, I mean, last year I got Brady with my very last pick before I went kicker and defense.
I had my philosophy going into this year was with quarterback or tight end, I'm getting the top 2 guys or I'm waiting. So it's either Kittle Kelsey or it's Mahomes Jackson, or I'm not drafting them till like we'll see what happens. Like see who's still left. Like once we get to the double-digit rounds.
Yeah, I basically had that philosophy as far as quarterback. If I was either going to, and really I was looking at Lamar the whole time because I thought he might be slightly undervalued. So I wasn't going to jump and get Mahomes because I knew people would just jump. But as soon as someone did jump and get Mahomes, then Lamar became on my radar. And that's how I got him in one of these. I think the pick after Mahomes, I was like, oh, got to get him. And in the other league, like you said, when I missed out on Lamar, I was like, all right, I'm going to wait. And then I forget what round, but I ended up getting Russell Wilson, who was the leading scorer of quarterbacks in week 1. And I've always been hesitant on Russell, but I guess he must be getting better just putting up numbers than he used to be.
He's been great.
Younger.
He's been great.
He's been great as a winner, but as a fantasy player, it was like last year was his first big year, I think.
No, that's wrong. But he the year before that he was disappointing, but the year before that he was awesome. He's had awesome years before. He's been top 5, so that's a good pick. I think it'll be interesting. I don't know what to do with Cam. I have him on the one league. I have Aaron Rodgers. I have Aaron and Cam. So that's not true.
You got a backup plan.
That's not true. I have no, that is true. I have Cam in 2 leagues. I have him backing up A-Rod, and I also have him backing up Lamar. But I don't like carrying a backup but I can't drop him.
I mean, I disagree. I always think it's good to have a backup QB that you like, rather than having, whenever there's a bye, you got to wait and see, and you might have to end up with Darnold or something.
Or Daniel Jones.
Exactly.
No, there's good guys on the waiver wire these days. Gardner Minshew.
They're good right now.
Mitchell Trubisky.
But you don't know but it's not, you're not going to be so confident coming that bye week that those dudes are going to produce.
No.
But you have, we were talking about Odell Beckham Jr. last year. He was the 25th overall wide receiver points-wise.
That's good. That's a wide receiver too.
Which sounds better than it is, because you had guys who, like Michael Gallup, who was better. John Brown was better. Cortland Sutton was better.
Those guys are good.
But they were drafted way after.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, so
he did.
I'm worried he's going to give me a repeat performance.
Yeah,
and maybe it is Mayfield's fault, but Mayfield's still there.
I think you get a good game at him tonight. That's my prediction.
That's like that's going to be the sign right here. What he does week 2 against Cincinnati. We know they're not as good as Baltimore defensively.
On a Thursday night, on a short week.
Which we know aren't Thursday nights are notorious for terrible games, low-scoring games.
And I think for favoring the home team.
Where is it? Cleveland?
Yeah, I think so. Although I guess those two cities are pretty close, right? I'm not sure about that.
Is Cleveland allowing fans?
I don't know. Probably.
Six of the 32 teams, week 1 allowed fans.
I wish you knew. I wish you had the list so I could guess. I know one of them is KC.
Right. I know one more for sure. That's it. And it's a weird one too. Like, you wouldn't think they would be that stupid, but I guess maybe their governor's stupid. So maybe that's it. That's a hint.
The Dolphins? No, the Bucs?
Yes, Dolphins.
Dolphins? But the Dolphins played it at New England.
I know, but they've already said they're allowing fans, yeah.
Okay.
Whatever percentage.
The Bills.
I'm not sure.
Oh, no, because Cuomo wouldn't have that.
Right. So, I mean, these are like super spreader events, man. The football stuff going on. Even without the fans. When you look on the field and you see all these dudes, all the dudes that it takes for a football game, it just looks crazy to me. Then all the guys on the sideline, like, it's nuts.
How about all the coaches with the damn? You can tell which coaches are assholes because they got the damn mask
the nose
down under their chin. Just don't even wear it if you're going to have it under your chin all day. I'm looking at you, Sean McVay, and you, Shanahan.
And
see, the young guys think they're hot shit. Andy Reid ain't playing that. Andy Reid looks like Darth Vader out there.
Yeah, the old guys ain't playing it. Even in NBA, D'Antoni had kept the mask on while coaching. He was like, F that.
Yes. Well, I don't think it's just about personal safety. I think it's also about like setting an example and showing respect for people who have.
Well, that's the NBA. The NBA as a whole made that a thing where like they wanted to show an example to the people watching on TV. Right. So they made they had all the the spacing and everything.
Is an example that it's okay for you to run around Walmart with your mask under your chin like an asshole.
But I did hear the NFL sent out a memo to all these coaches reminding them that they must wear masks on the sideline. So Goodell is trying.
And keep it on their face.
Keep it on, yeah. They have to keep their mask on their face. Like, they sent out a letter, based on all the stuff we're talking right now, that the coaches must or they'll be fined or whatever.
I hope they get fined, because I'm sure they're not going to keep. There's no way. Those dudes are psychos.
Yeah.
Like Sean McVay. I need to be able to speak. We all roided out. I don't see it. All right.
What else? Anything about lineups? Any thing about any lineup situations you got coming up this week? Do you want to talk about?
I mean, my biggest one is, in one league, I'm debating, do I start Julian Edelman or Christian Kirk? This guy, Christian Kirk, had a terrible game last week, but he's on the field all the time, and Kyler's looking for him. You got to think that Washington's going to key in a little bit on DeAndre.
Why are you even considering not playing Edelman for that guy?
Well,
I know he's questionable, but is that a real questionable?
Probably not, but he didn't really. What did he have last?
He had like 12, 13 points.
He had five catches for 57 yards.
So 10 points and change.
Yeah, he was all right.
And you got to figure him and Cam still. They're going to work out their chemistry. He's definitely the number one option, right?
Yeah, probably.
I would stick with Edelman.
I actually dropped Kirk, but then no one picked him up, so I picked him back up. Early in the season, I just can't stand to see guys who are like with 70% ownership just sitting out there. I have to just go grab him.
But he's the next best wide receiver you have on that team, like on your bench.
No. Nah.
No, I'm talking about on your bench.
Yeah, I mean, I start Michael Gallup. This is a league. Here's my start. I've got Lamar, Michael Gallup, Julian Edelman, Zeke, David Johnson, Kelsey, and Mostert. Those are my starters. On my bench, I got Kirk I've got Brandon Cooks. I've got Judge Judy.
Judy, I think, is the best one of those.
And I got Paris Campbell.
Why aren't you considering Judy? He looked good.
Yeah, but again, would you start him over Edelman?
No, but I would start him over Kirk. Okay. But and I would consider. I mean, if Edelman. No, the safe bet is Edelman. Now Judy, the way he looked. They're going to use him. Like he probably has more. He has more upside.
All right, rank these rookie wide receivers because there's so many of them. There's no way they're all going to be good, but I know some of them are going to be good. Okay, you got Judge Judy. Mm-hmm. You got Brandon Ayuk, who didn't play because he was hurt in San Francisco. Right. You got Jalen Reagor out in Philly. You got Larry Chenault in Jacksonville, who scored a touchdown and is a freak. Is that all of them? Is that all the big ones?
Ruggs.
Oh, Pittman in Indy.
Ruggs.
He didn't do jack. Who?
Ruggs.
Henry Ruggs and Brian Edwards on the Raiders.
I don't know, but I think
Ruggs.
I think it's Judy. I think Judy and Ruggs are the two. Those are the two guys.
I think Chenault might be a stud by the end, but there's so many wide receivers there that I feel like they're just going to pass around the big games between Chark and like who else they got like Keenan Cole and D.D. Westbrook. Although Westbrook was a scratch last.
But Judy and Ruggs are both Alabama guys. So I'm going with them.
All right, fair enough. Well, and we didn't even mention CeeDee Lamb.
Oh yeah, he's real. Yep, I put him in that mix too. Those three.
Yeah, Judy looks good, but like I said, Chenault I think is the sleeper. Watch that kid.
All right, I'll keep my eye on him.
And then what about the rookie running backs?
Who are they?
I mean, some of them are like, damn, if you drafted Jonathan Taylor, you are happy right now.
Oh, and also the kid, Clyde, whatever, from Kansas City.
Edward Helaire. Yes. But then you got guys like Cam Akers on the Rams.
Yeah, he's fine.
DeAndre Swift in Detroit. Like, what's the deal with these? I'm trying to think. Are there a few other rookie running backs who didn't really – Zach Moss in Buffalo. He had a touchdown.
Mm-hmm. But there's a kid who's Baltimore has Dobbins.
Oh, Dobbins. Now I'm worried about Ingram. I'm glad I only have Ingram in one league.
Well, Dobbins had 2 touchdowns, but he didn't have many yards.
I know he didn't have many touches, but that's what happened last year with Nick Chubb or 2 years ago.
Right.
When it was Nick Chubb and Carlos Hyde in Cleveland. He only got 2 touches a game. But if you take 2 touches to the house, 95 yards each time, they're gonna they have to give you the rock.
Right. Well, Dobbins didn't do that yet.
No, but
no,
I feel like that's another. I feel like Harbaugh respects the veterans, and like when it's important, he's giving the ball to Ingram. But I'm worried. I do have one league where I think I'm going to start Malcolm Brown over Mark Ingram. What do you think of that?
What did they do last week?
Well, Malcolm Brown had like 25 points. He had 2 touchdowns. Was the lead rusher for the Rams. 18 carries, something like that. Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Mark Ingram did nothing.
And what are the matchups this week?
Baltimore.
Yeah, I mean, if I were you, I'd lean towards Brown too.
Yeah. The Rams are at Philly.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Philly's defense that much.
Or their offense. Jeez. They look terrible. And Baltimore's at Houston. Not worried about their defense either.
True. But yeah, I would go off the hot hand last week, I think. I mean, if you get that many touches and they're using you that much, that's the safe bet.
All right, man, I got to go get back to work. I've been playing hooky for an hour.
All right, cool. All right, well, good luck. Good luck tonight in fantasy. Hopefully Odell, hopefully you're right about Odell Beckham Jr. And he gets me some points.
I see 80 yards and a touch.
I'll take it. I'll definitely take it. I'll take 50 and a touch at this point.
Yeah.
All right, yo. Good talking to you. We'll see what happens. We'll get back at it when NBA playoffs progress. And, next week, we'll see what happens this week in fantasy football and get back at that too.
Queens in the house.
All right, later.
Peace.